Welcome to another edition of World Talks here on TVP World. I'm your host, Benjamin Lee, and please join me and my guests on this next interview. A second round of trilateral talks in Abu Dhabi has been postponed after a meeting between Russian and U.S. negotiators in Florida this Saturday. Talks between Dmitriev and Witkoff were labeled productive and constructive, but what does that actually signal amid stalled diplomacy? At the same time, Russia has intensified strikes on Ukraine's energy and logistic infrastructure, targeting miners, LNG storage, and coal facilities. Joining us today on TVP World is Oleksiy Goncharenko, Ukrainian MP from European Solidarity. Hello and welcome to TVP World.
Hello.
So first of all, let's take a look at Dmitriev and Witkoff's meeting in Florida on Saturday. They didn't tell us much about what's being said, but they called it productive and constructive. This is very diplomatic language, but behind that, what does that imply? What are they telling us or not telling us?
I don't know. The frank answer is it's good that the contacts are continuing, but for the moment we don't see results. As we all understand, this week will be a new round of negotiations in Abu Dhabi. And as I understand, these contacts in Miami were part of preparation for this round. Unfortunately, I think the basics has not changed. Russia doesn't want any real peace and just trying to imitate the process. And before a hard pressure will be put on Russia, there will be no result.
Right, and like you mentioned, it doesn't really look like Russia wants real peace. We're looking at strikes on other infrastructure, even though they have agreed not to strike energy infrastructure. We see they have appearing to shift tactics, now targeting civilians as well as industrial targets like buses, coal mines, LNG facilities. Why are those now in the crosshairs?
Russia just continues to kill people. Awful strike at the bus with the miners, where 16 people were killed just in a moment. People burned alive, awful. Attacks on maternity house in Zaporizhia and others. So Russia continues its terror. That's it. And that shows that Russia doesn't want any peace, as I told you. Right. So I welcome negotiations because I want this war to end as soon as possible. But once again, before Russia will clearly understand that either they finish the war immediately, or they will pay an awful price for this. And the United States can do this by seizing of Russian tankers, imposing more sanctions on Russia. Before this, there will be no results and no progress in these negotiations.
And looking into this switch of tactics, now hitting coal mines and logistics instead of just first-line energy structures, do you think that this has been prompted by the peace talks ahead, or is Russia playing the long game of essentially just completely shutting down Ukraine's energy?
Russia just continues to kill Ukrainians, and they're doing it all possible ways they can. And also their aim is Ukrainian economy. That's why if they can't attack energy grid, energy infrastructure for some time, then they attack transportation, which is super important for economy as well. Transportation, trains, buses, and so on. So Russia just looks for possibilities to hit harder. They don't care about human lives, about victims, about civilians. Unfortunately, nothing has changed.
Right. How do you think the Americans will perceive that, especially the Washington administration being the ones that tell Russia explicitly not to hit energy infrastructure? And it does look like even though they've avoided doing exactly that, they're just going in a very roundabout way of achieving essentially the same results. Do you think that the Trump administration will be convinced that Russia is indeed sticking to what is being discussed, or will they see Russia's action for what it really is?
It's hard to say. I think that it's already clear for everybody that Russia doesn't want peace. And they just playing games with President Trump. And I think President Trump realizes it too. Why he still waits, why he is not acting already, I don't know. Maybe he has his own reasons. He plays many games on many boards. So I don't know, but I think it's not a secret for Americans what Russia is doing.
All right. Now, speaking of other Western allies, how have we seen the shift? Have we seen shift in West's readiness to protect Ukraine's logistics and the energy lifeline? Do you think it's possible for other allies to step in and any sort of substantial assistance?
You know, our allies, the European allies, are doing a lot to support Ukraine, and I want to thank them for doing this. But they don't have enough possibilities to ramp up this support, to increase it dramatically, or they don't have enough political will to do this. It's hard for me to say, but the level on which they support Ukraine gives us possibility to survive, but I would say hardly survive, especially taking into account how difficult and hard this winter is and how harsh are the weathers and weather conditions, but not enough just to stop it completely. So, with all respect to our European colleagues and friends, I think many more could be done and should be done.
All right, like you mentioned, Ukraine is literally just hanging on there. Speaking of infrastructure as well, how vulnerable actually are Ukraine's key energy providers right now, like DTK or Nafto Gas, and how open are they to continued long-range strikes?
These companies, DTEK and others, they are doing an amazing job. And first of all, their employees, the engineers, the rescuers, the repair teams, they're just doing fantastic job in -20, -25. They work 24/7 to repair, to help, to give electricity, to give heating, to give water to millions of Ukrainians. They're real heroes. How well they are protected against new Russian attacks, I don't know. And we understand that any level of protection can't intercept everything. So we hope that, as President Trump said, when it is so cold, there will be no new attacks on energy infrastructure. And what Putin promised to Trump, that he will keep this word, we hope so. I don't know. But if there will be new attacks in such weather, it will be extremely hard. And it can cause, we already have a humanitarian catastrophe of unseen scale in Ukraine. In the middle of Europe, people in their apartments are just freezing to death. That is what's going on. And that is absolutely awful.
Right, like I mentioned, we've seen also on the footage that's on the screen just briefly that Ukraine is suffering with a lot of energy crisis and a rolling blackout. We also heard a lot about internet being shut off and such. So when it comes back to come back to the Western allies, what more do you think could be done from European partners right now to help defend the country's energy infrastructure, or at least make sure some civilians will be in a slightly better position than they are right now?
I would ask you, where are humanitarian convoys entering Ukraine from all sides? Do you see them? I don't see them. I'm not even now telling about weapons, which is super important for us, new sanctions against Russia, which is super important. But it's already like I can understand sometimes political things. But my question is, where are humanitarian convoys full of generators, food, fuel, warm clothes, with the rescuers coming to Ukraine? For your understanding, what's going on now in the big cities of Ukraine is a humanitarian catastrophe. It's worse than some results of earthquakes or floods or something like this. And we all know when such natural disasters are happening, the whole world is helping this country. But when we see what's going on in Ukraine now, it looks like many got used to this, saying just, oh, okay, new challenge for Ukrainians. But it's really humanitarian catastrophe. And we just literally counting hours till the end of this winter, not even days. So that's my answer.
All right. Thank you so much for shedding light on the scale of the
Thank you.
catastrophe and being a voice for that. Really appreciate it. And thanks for being with us on TVP World.
Thank you.
Thank you. And thank you for tuning into this edition of World Talks. For more news, update, and commentary, please stay tuned to TVP World.